What is up, everybody? DanDanTheFireman here. We're going to talk about why do new motorcycle riders crash. Now, it has a lot of different things here and there. A lot of it's ego. A lot of it's not making sure that your bike is maintained because you're so excited about riding. Well, there's a lot of things here, and I want to talk to you about that, but I want to say special thank you to my patrons. If you want to be part of the Patreon crew and join all these people, please click the link in the description and see what it's all about. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's talk about why new motorcycle riders crash. Well, my girlfriend, Nikki, she is a brand new motorcycle rider, and we've been training, and we've been trying to figure out what the best motorcycle is for her, what the best training's for her. Well, what we did is that we got her in an Msf course, the BRC01. Now, this isn't part of the list. This isn't part of the stuff that I'm talking about. I'm just kind of giving you guys some information about how we're going about it, is that we took her to the BRC01. She passed the class, so she used their bike. We bought her a Honda Rebel 500. It's a 2018 Honda Rebel 500. Great bike, perfect bike, and that's going to kind of segue us into the first topic here is why do new motorcycle riders crash? Well, number one is that they do buy too much of a motorcycle. Too much of a motorcycle as in too big, too many cc's, too much power, that kind of stuff. Now, I started on a 1200 cc. It's a perfect bike for me. I started on it. I didn't use the full potential of that bike. I could flat foot it because it's a nice low cruiser, so that was perfectly fine for me, but I couldn't, use the full power of the bike when I first started riding. I was pretty much sticking to second, first, third gear while practicing. Well, she got a Honda Rebel 500. She can flat foot it perfectly fine. So the smaller the bike, the better to train on, only because you're able to remove some of the variables. So when you first start training, you need to learn how to take off from a stop and lift your feet off the ground. Well, if you have a smaller bike, you can actually put your feet on the ground to be able to stabilize yourself there. So it's a little more forgiving on that part. And then depending on how fast you learn, starting on a bike, like a big bike, isn't that bad of a thing. Like I said, I started on a 1200 cc, very first bike, didn't have an endorsement, never rode a motorcycle. And if you just know how to take it nice and slow, you'll be fine. So that kind of plays into the ego part. Now, ego plays a huge part in why new motorcycle riders crash. So thinking that you're ready to jump into traffic, thinking that you don't have to do parking lot practice, thinking that you don't even need an endorsement can be a big deal. And that started to hit me when I first started riding, but I was able to remove myself from all those hazards and just kind of focus on training, because that's kind of where I'm used to as a firefighter. You train until you get it 100% correct. And there's somebody with a belt from their car. Anyways, hopefully it's not too loud. But ego can play a huge role, and if you're going to rush into rush hour traffic, if you're going to rush into any type of traffic, you're adding extra dangerous variables that you're not ready for as a new rider. So that's why a lot of new riders crash, is that they're not ready to do the search, evaluate, execute, SEE. Now, you learn that during the Msf course, but basically you search for the hazard, you evaluate whether or not that hazard is going to be playing a role in whether you're going to get hurt or not, and then executing an escape plan, braking, whatever it is you need to do to get away from that hazard. So a lot of new riders don't see that right away because they're too focused on shifting gears, too focused on throttle, too focused on keeping the bike upright, too focused on being cool, and that's where the ego plays in. So the next thing that really happens is the maintenance of a bike, and that comes from a beginner rider, because honestly you don't know what you're doing when it comes to maintaining your bike, especially when you first get it. So you really do need to do a pre-ride safety check as many times as you can. Make it a routine, make it a habit. So you need to check your tire pressure, your fluids, your belt or chain, your tags on the back of the bike, your lights, any damaged wires or hoses. And I actually have a video in the description where I kind of go over most of that stuff, and it's really good to do every time you ride, because if you try to do it every time you ride, you're going to miss it maybe once or twice, and you'll start doing it once a week. That's perfectly fine, but definitely keep an eye out for anything noticeable. Plus, this will help you familiarize yourself with the bike, so if something does, look out of place, you know exactly why, because maybe something was unhooked, or why is your blinker not working? Well, it's because you checked your wires and you know where your wires are and how to troubleshoot. That really does play a huge role, especially with tires. If you start seeing cracks in the tires, if you start seeing damage to the tires, if there's a nail in the tire, if your tire pressure is too low, you could start having some issues while riding. And you do not want to have a rusty chain break on you. You do not want to have a belt that has cracks in it break on you when you're riding at speed. You really don't want to run out of fluids either. You don't want to have super low oil or burnt oil because you could damage your engine. It could seize up while you're riding. So it's a lot of different things like that that you kind of have to pay attention to, that a lot of people don't think because they're thinking of riding, they're thinking of having fun, they're thinking of, I have to do some training. And well, the bike itself is a huge part of that to maintain your safety. So the next thing that causes a lot of issues is not assuming that you're invisible to other traffic. To be quite honest, other car drivers are used to looking at other car drivers. They're not used to looking at motorcycles, so you kind of don't stick out. You do not stick out. Other drivers on the road will not see you. They really won't see you, and it sucks. But that's the way it is. It's as simple as that. So you need to actually pay attention to what other drivers are doing and don't rely on them seeing you. You need to see them first and react to them first. Remember, search, evaluate, execute. The next thing that I want to talk about is that people taking turns way too fast, and that's just getting super excited when it comes to riding, is that you're hitting that throttle, having a lot of fun, and then you see a turn coming, and you think you can navigate it, but then you can't. You're taking it too fast. Now you go off the road, or you go into oncoming traffic, and you're going to have a bad day. So taking those turns too fast, and the way you can kind of mitigate that is take an Msf course, or just take turns slowly. Take it like at the recommended speed limit. If you can take turns at the speed limit on a motorcycle, it's going to be too slow, because you're going to be like, this is slow to me. In a car, that's what they're designed for, is for in a car, but on a motorcycle, you can take turns pretty fast if you use the appropriate lean angle, but definitely start trying it at the speed limit. That is going to help you out when it comes to making those turns. And then taking an Msf course is huge. The reason why a lot of new motorcycle riders crash is that they do not get the appropriate training. So taking an Msf course is, I think, the absolute must. You have to take an Msf course. Msf courses are in the United States. I know I have a lot of international people out there that they do take CBT courses. They have to take certain courses in order to get a license. Well, in America, in the United States, you pretty much got the freedom to not do that. But I highly recommend taking an Msf course, especially the beginning class. I've been riding around since 2011, end of 2011, and I took my very first Msf course this year, and I took the very beginner rider course. So that means I went from my 1200cc Sportster that has a stage 1 kit, new clutch, all the other stuff, to a 250 supermoto type bike, and I had the most fun I've had in a long time. I learned some things. I learned what not to do, what habits that I developed that are pretty bad. And I learned to see what new riders looked like, and I had a lot of fun. And I did it with Nikki. She had a lot of fun. Now we got her a bike, and we're working on it. We're working on these new things. So I honestly think taking an Msf course is it's highly recommended. You're going to learn so much from it. And if you don't know if you want to ride or not, if you take that course, you can find out right away. You don't have to use your bike. You use somebody else's bike. And if you don't like it, well, there you go. You spent $200-something or whatever. They provided you a helmet, hopefully, and they provided you a bike to ride on. And now you don't have to buy a bike to double check and make sure you don't want to do it or not. I highly recommend it. Never stop training, never stop learning. I'm going to be taking the BRC2, which is the beginner class, and I have to take my own bike, and I'll be doing everything the very, very beginner class does, but on my bike. I'll be taking the advanced rider class, where there's more high-speed maneuver type stuff, and the goal is to become an instructor so I can come to you guys and I can teach you guys for free through YouTube or in person, and I want to be able to do that. So all my patrons are making that possible, so thank you once again to my Patreon crew. If you guys want to hang out and chat with me, go ahead and join the Discord. That is absolutely free. I have a ton of fun in there. We have like 900-something plus people in there. 300 people at a time are online. It's a huge chat room. It's a lot of fun, and I hope to see you guys there. If you guys like this kind of stuff, please click any of these videos. I don't know which side it's on, but I got to get used to that. But there's 2 other videos right here, and the Patreon crew link is down below. But with that said, I hope you guys ride safe, be safe, and I'll see you guys later.